Doubles and coffee. If on this Carnival Sunday I was to tell you that a newspaper, the #1 newspaper in Trinidad and Tobago, in an editorial, found a positive spin on a debacle started by a Minister of Finance of the PNM, by the PNM government not being able to account for ghost revenue that would create and impact the credit ratings of Trinidad and Tobago and make it easier for this government that had borrowed inordinate sum amount of money from international sources, local sources, borrow from anywhere to spend on friends and family and making the rich richer while you suffer. If I could tell you that this entire imbroglio with the Auditor General, started by the PNM Minister of Finance and the PNM Ministry of Finance, continued by the PNM Attorney General attacking the Auditor General for simply doing her job, sticking to her professional instincts, her integrity, her accountability, her good character, her morals, and her ethics. And it was taken to the extreme. A committee was appointed, determined, given instructions, paid for by the very said PNM Minister of Finance. And then when normal people and the Auditor General said, listen, what madness is this? This is not right. This is not natural justice. This doesn't follow the principles of fairness and equity and balance. When this woman was under attack inside, outside the Parliament, in the Senate pre-action protocol letter, then she went to court, the only place she could seek refuge. Won a case. The PNM government take your taxpayers' dollars, paying their rich PNM attorneys more money, more brief, to appeal and then appeal again up to the Privy Council, taking precious foreign exchange to argue the most asinine argument in history, embarrassing themselves. Douglas Mendes walking around. I see in Fatima Fet, boy, you have no shame, boy, hide your face, boy, Douglas Mendes. All you have no shame, you went by Balize house for that surgery where they just cut out your shame. And then, when the Privy Council says that the Minister of Finance should be under investigation also, somehow today, the Express newspaper has found a way to put a headline to find a positive spin on the part of the PNM. I hear all you feeling all you say, Anel, you lie, Douglas, you lie. Why you're so biased against the PNM? Let me read the Express editorial headline for you today. And let me tell you how hard they had to think, how deep and creative they had to be to try to give you with a few words a positive spin for the PNM, the People's National Movement, Rowley and Smallpin, aided and abetted by the worst Minister of Finance ever, Colm Imbert. Here the Express editorial. Dropping Jaiwanti probe, the right thing. Let me continue. The government made the right decision in dropping the probe against Auditor General Jaiwanti Ramdas, which was set off by the 2.6 billion understatement in the country's 2023 financial accounts. Hear these words, Think about how biased, how sick, how determined to try and not let the population know the truth about the PNM. You would have to be to sit down in a situation like this and type these words. The government made the right decision. This government, the PNM government, the PNM government would call me, but the Ministry of Finance who was hounded, who was oppressed, who's targeted, who's been vindictive, who spent taxpayers' money to wage a war against an Auditor General that nobody knew, who's just doing a job. But unbelievably, this Express editorial continues. But then below, it gets very scathing, and they start to print some of the truth. But you have to understand, in media, in mass media, in newspapers, the most powerful thing is the headline. That's what sticks in the mind share of the masses. Very rarely do people get down, a very low percentage get down and read every word, every paragraph. The next most powerful set of words in any article or editorial, the first line that sticks in the mind of the people. So in this dire disaster brought about by the dishonesty of the PNM, the Express, even at this stage, after the PNM Minister of Finance, Colm Imbert, and the Ministry of Finance has lost not only appeal locally, but abroad, and with scathing rebuke from the law lords who say that the Minister of Finance should be under investigation. The Express has found a way to leave in the minds of those who are in carnival, imbibing, listening to soca, dancing, enjoying themselves, that the government did the right thing. The editorial then says, for example, the law lord said, it is unfortunate that the so-called knockout blow relied on by the minister has not only led to extensive argument in the domestic courts, but also in this second appeal. In other words, Finance Minister Colm Imbert should never have started this fight by accusing the Auditor General of unprofessional conduct, let alone contesting a High Court judgment. That's the editorial. How about this, Express? Colm Imbert and the PNM government and the PNM Ministry of Finance should have never started this by not accounting for revenue, by not providing the accounts on time, by not answering and providing information to the Auditor General, by not trying to bully. They should have done their job properly. Isn't that where you should start? The editorial continued. This debacle was created entirely by Minister Imbert. How you know that now? It took going to the Privy Council for you, the Express, and the mass PNM media to write that. Didn't you know that at the beginning? When Imbert was in the Parliament and then A.G. Lima was in the Senate and the Parliament attacking the lady, writing pre-action protocol letters, couldn't you, as intelligent human beings, read all of the comments, do your research and investigation, and come to the immediate conclusion that Imbert was lying, Lima was lying, that this was terrible, and that the Auditor General was correct, and the Auditor General was doing her duty to the letter of the law, and that the government should have been brought to book by your newspaper and other newspapers? You now know, a year later, after the Privy Council ruled, that Imbert started it and Imbert was wrong? They continued. So vehemently criticized the applicant and made clear statements indicating his view on her conduct. Both indicate that he, Imbert, had a personal interest in the outcome of the investigation, which he initiated. So you only know that now. When Imbert said there's going to be an investigation, when Imbert said, here it is, I choose people to go on this investigative committee. I will tell them who to investigate, what to investigate, and how to investigate it. I will take taxpayers' money and pay them. When they finish their report, they will report to me. And you, Express, and you, mass media, did not realize on your own, without the Privy Council telling you, that that was wrong. They continued. The law lords concurred, saying it is arguable that this has the appearance of a one-sided investigation seeking to deflect attention or blame away from the minister. And this is the gem. After pause, I really have to pause for this one. This is the Express, right? Here the Express conclusion and statement. In a different kind of political culture, Mr. Imbert would have already resigned or been fired. Let me repeat what the Express is saying in Trinidad and Tobago. The Express, that has been the #1 newspaper for the last 40 years, unfettered, at a peak of 89,000 papers per day, read by an average of 3 people per newspaper. Mr. In a different kind of political culture, Mr. Imbert would have already resigned or been fired. Instead, he will be contesting the next election in a safe seat. Why would he? Who creates the political culture, Express? Is it not the very media, the journalists, those who control the mind share of the masses of the population? Who creates the political culture of doing the right thing? It is in fact you, Express. It is in fact you, the mass media, by teaching, by educating, by bringing the population with information, with editorials, with strong opinions to a tipping point that politicians have to realize that without good decisions, without doing the right thing, they will be rejected at the polls. But when you have a mass media that PNM could do anything, do any wrong, sign indemnity, email gate, Rowley could lie in the parliament for an hour and 15 minutes and no editorial, no headline says, Rowley, you lie, disgusting, shameful, and then Rowley could become prime minister. The political culture is created by a corrupt media of which you are a strong, big part, Express newspaper. Isn't it amazing? They just talk about the political culture. How is the political culture created? How is it enhanced? How is it maintained? It's maintained by a corrupt media which does not print the truth for the people to come to the right conclusions. But they always have something to say about Kamala, Rugby, Barre, Dennis Rambali. People who are irrelevant, made a play, lost power, get licks in an election, are out and in the political cemetery, but somehow they make front pages. Why? Because the political culture has been created by a corrupt, sick media like you, Express. Indeed, avoiding a probe, says the Express now. They get bright down at the end. Why? Because only people like the Douglas will read down to the end. Very few people would have time to go through and read down to the end. Here down to the end, somewhere there, deep in the bowels of the Express editorial this Carnival Sunday. Indeed, avoiding a probe into Mr. Imbert may be the real reason the government has decided to drop its action against Ms. Ramdas. As the law lords noted, whether the minister acted with bias and in that sense an improper purpose is a question that can only be determined at a full hearing. But that hearing will not happen because, according to the AG's office, the investigation has answered all outstanding questions. But you have accepted that again. You have accepted that there is no investigation into Imbert. You, the newspaper, this editorial should be saying, there must be an investigation into Imbert. The police, the fraud squad, the FIU, some independent institution must investigate Imbert. Or they're not saying that. And then wondering why the political culture is such that Imbert has not been fired, Imbert has not resigned, and he's going up in a safe seat. Rowley out in California telling you all he in good spirit, dress up like a yachty, some bourgeois, dress up like he going on a big yacht with some of the rich and famous in Monaco, hugging up, while your money missing, while revenue cannot be accounted for, while the Auditor General had to spend her own money where the PNM didn't even want to pay her legal fees to fight for doing the right thing, because a mass media allows the PNM to do what they want and create a culture of ineptitude, corruption, sick behavior, vindictiveness, wickedness, and a perpetration of lies on human beings who do the right thing. So the political culture is created by the PNM mass media. So I tell all of you who see this video, fire burn the Express, fire burn the Guardian, fire burn TV6, fire burn CNC3, fire burn Newsday, and the 13 PNM radio stations. Get your information with facts, with information. The only way a PNM could argue, you know how they go answer this? They go say, I'm really ugly. Bless. Happy Carnival.